What's poppin'? How's everybody doing? Check, check, check. Tyler, what's poppin'? Long time no see. What's poppin'? 8 row and frame rates. How's it going? No problem. I was actually gonna hit you up today and see what's poppin' with you. I know work's probably been hectic. I bet. How's things been besides work being crazy though? Work been good? It's alright. Streaming been good? I haven't been seeing you go live, but I've been trying to like and view any of the content you posted on YouTube just to show some support. Don't mention it. Like, I know how hard it is to get those videos up there, and I know, like, I think it looks at how long people watch the video as well as, like, if they like the video. So I have another friend, he does 3D modeling. Oh, true. That makes sense. Yeah, I have a friend, he makes 3D modeling videos, and like I'll go on there and I'll try to like support him too. Like I'll throw a like on there and I'll like have the video play in the background. I'm gonna get started in a second. Your running time, because this one's a Magic the Gathering lore movie stream. I'm just trying to get a cup of coffee because I didn't finish working out, but like a few minutes ago, probably like 30, 45 minutes. So it's gonna be fun. We started yesterday with a little bit of lore, and I was like, you know what? There's a lot of stuff that the chat won't know about. So I'm like, let's start from somewhat at the beginning and give you guys some backstory on Magic the Gathering, and then we could talk about what the planeswalkers are, and who I'm drawing, and all that jazz. So I'm just getting some coffee in my system, and I'll put like 1.5 too many scoops in this. It's strong, strong. Okay. Let's get this party started. Alright, there we go. Hey, how's it going? I'm Mario Hero, and I turn your favorite characters into spray cans. If you've been here before, of course you know that, but if you're brand new, now you do. I hope everybody's doing good. Welcome in. We're going to be doing Magic the Gathering characters for the next few weeks, and I thought, why not give you guys some backstory? So it's like a little story time that we get to like enjoy while I draw. Feel free to ask questions. Yeah, hopefully this is very informative. If you like story-based things and like to read story, I think Magic the Gathering has really good storytelling. Some people don't like it, some people do, but you know, It is what it is. Let me go ahead and reduce my background music. I'm just gonna eat that off because it's very intense and also I can't hear myself think. Okay, welcome, Cry. What's poppin'? You're right on time because I'm about to jump over to the Magic the Gathering stuff. Let's do a sound check just to make sure y'all can hear things, and then we'll kick off this whole session. I'm gonna like, I'm gonna work on colors and background stuff. This is still not his face. I didn't work on his face last night, but by the next stream we'll have a face. What's poppin'? That may be enough water. Okay, let me know if you guys can hear things fairly well, and if you can, I'll increase the volume. Let me know if you hear this. Nope.
Millennia that
There we go.
encompasses countless planes and details the rise and fall of myriad empires. It's a story of struggle, a tapestry of conflict woven by great powers and unstoppable forces. A tale of ambition and hubris that details the blind.
Do y'all hear that? Is it the sound good? What's up, For Jug? Welcome to the stream. Sound good? So so. Before I proceed into this.
Tatterhot Wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I wish I can like. Can I drag this over to this screen and then
Tatterhot
like
Wolf.
blow it up?
I hear
Yes.
myself.
Yeah.
Cromelyric. Yep.
Yeah. Because it's
Tatterhot
going
Wolf.
through
Whoa.
the the web browser, you guys get to hear the text to speech whenever the text to speech talks during this session. So I have to figure out a way around that, but I don't know how to do that at the moment. So for now, it'll go through the headphones. If you want, I can turn it off too. I can disable that.
Tatterhot Wolf. Now I wanna make it sound funny.
Stop. You know what? Know what? You know what? Here we go. We're gonna pause the sound from that. I don't know. Now it's off. Plus, it also says welcome during the stream, and I don't want to mess up story time. So here we go. Well, I'll turn it on later on. All right, here we go.
Eternities in the shape of the
And I have the
multiverse at
video
large.
playing
This
underneath
video
my
is
tag. I
divided
don't know
into
if you'll be
8
able to see it
distinguished
too well.
epochs of MTG's main story.
Let's see if I
All
turn off
dates
the
given are in
bookmarks.
relation to the
It
Argivian
should
Reckoning,
give.
the birth of Urza Planeswalker, and will be
Nope.
abbreviated as AR. I want to preemptively address the well, actuallys and you forgot to mentions in the comments. The multiverse is too vast to detail every story arc and character, and too complex to delve into the deepest intricacies. A cursory retelling of the most significant plotlines is what follows. From the birth of history to the fall of the Thran, the Weatherlight Saga, Nicol Bolas's machinations, and new Phyrexian invasion will uncover Magic's essence. Major
See, the
spoilers
downside
to come
is
for
now I
all
have to
story
read chat.
arcs.
I don't know when y'all will
All
say
right,
things.
let's dive in.
Also, this page is the Lorbarians on YouTube. If y'all don't mind, go and give them a like. I really like their videos. Uh, you know, give them a little love. Let's continue.
In the beginning, the multiverse was unformed, its protean landscape a seething chaos from which 5 fundamental essences coalesced, distinguishing themselves from one another in distilled aspects of reality. These became the 5 colors of mana, each embodying critical aspects of existence. White, the color of constancy and structure. Red, the color of ingenuity and emotion. Blue of intellect and insight. Green of verdure and growth. Black of death and power. From mana came planes, and from planes came time, space, reality, and life. Each plane represents an entire universe of events and possibilities, and infinite planes populate the great expanse of the blind eternities. A primal void of ether, raw energy inscrutable and inhospitable. Interestingly, It's this unwelcome and destructive expanse that supported the first beings of existence. The incomprehensible race of Eldrazi stalked the blind eternity's ancient mists, acting as nature's gardeners, their voracious hunger consuming plains completely and pruning the great emptiness. Other entities, avatars of mana and manifestations of elements, formed within the blind eternities. The Ur-Dragon, for example, rose as the progenitor of all dragonkind across the multiverse, the parent of fire that is purported to live betwixt and between realities. It's such mythological figures that dominated the earliest days of time. The first documented event in civilized history takes place in roughly negative 100,000 AR, when the Equilorians first initiate their multiversal trek towards enlightenment. And this is the state of the multiverse for much time, nascent planes developing life cycles and complex ecosystems, primitive civilizations rising from the earth to command the colors of mana, the nature of time and reality stabilizing from the first throes of chaos. Then, in negative 25,000 AR, the Ur-Dragon unfurls its massive wings and rides on the winds of eternity, seeding countless planes with its offspring as it sojourns across the multiverse. It descends upon the plane of Dominaria, and from the sky, eggs plummet like meteors to the earth. From these molten craters emerge fully conscious and extremely powerful dragons,
So
known
this was weird.
collectively
I
as
always
the
thought it
Elder
was weird.
Dragons. A
Elder
pedigree that includes
dragons
such
just
mighty
like
and
dropped
infamous
eggs
figures
from
as
the
Nicol
sky
Bolas,
onto the
his twin
ground.
brother Ugin, the intellectual Arcady Sabbath, and the rapacious Palladia Moors.
These
The Elder
dragons are
Dragons,
important.
possessed of great ambition, quickly dominate Dominaria's ancient races and assert authority over the plane. For thousands of years, they rule with draconian authority. But roughly 5,000 years into their reign, the dragons are consumed in an intractable and bitter war, instigated by the schemes of Nicol Bolas. His designs for power are complex, his ambition boundless. Bolas manipulates his kin, and the Elder Dragon War erupts across Dominaria. For generations, dragons slay one another. Their legions of slaves clash on fields of battle scorched in fire. Death and destruction are all. We see the retelling of this mythical conflict in the saga The Elder Dragon Lore. When the screams end and the dust settles, only 7 Elder Dragons remain: Palladia Moors, Vivictus Asmati, Chromium Rule, Arcady Sabbath, Piru, Ugin, and Nicol Bolas. The aftermath of the war sees Ugin's planeswalker spark ignite, and out of such strong resentment, jealousy, and contempt for his brother, Nicol Bolas also ascends. The twins leave Dominaria in scorched ruin and begin a journey of mutual struggle that will forever see them conflicted and their fates tied to one another. Ugin.
So here's a funny thing. They like completely they're like speed running the story a little bit because this was a little bit more dramatic. So here's a little thing. In Magic, people can planeswalk. What's up, Zesty Keys? They have the ability to shift between planes. All right, that's their thing. The only way to unlock a planes like your planeswalker ability is a spark that you have inside you, and not everybody could do this. But the way to do this is you have to be at such a level of an emotional distress that you unlock the ability to leave the plane. Like, excuse me. Now, if you think about this, you're so stressed out that you don't want to be in the place you're at, and your body's natural knee jerk reaction is to pop you into a new dimension, and you're just like, I'm here now. This is where I'm at. Okay. So Nicol Bolas and Ugin are twin brothers, and they were like vibing in the beginning. They were like, all right, we're cool. It's us against the world. And then Nicol Bolas had the ability to control other dragons and other beings. And this dude went crazy with power. Like, you know what? Man, this is giving us an overview, but I want that story. Because they talk about like how he got his name and all this other stuff. And it's just like, let's see. Rise and Fall of Nicobolus, Aetherhub, The True Origin of Nicobolus and Ugin, Part 1. Yeah, I think that's a Part 1. Why didn't y'all put this all into 1? Okay, here we go. Let's try this one. I want to make sure that it has the other parts here before we
Hello
dive
everyone
into
and
this.
welcome back to the Aether Hub. I'm of course Simon, bringing you more Magic the Gathering lore. I know I've been sitting on this for a while and you guys are probably
This guy's more enthusiastic. I just don't like his voice. So, let's see. Is this Aether Hub? Yeah, it is Aether Hub. There should be a playlist that I could select. Why is it that this guy decided that they did not want to put them together? One second. Because that video is only 10 minutes long, and what's going to happen is we're going to start watching it, and then at the 10-minute mark, you're going to be like, yeah, we're done. There's part 1, and then I'm going to have to go and search for part 2. Did they not link these together? And it didn't look like they auto.
It's super antsy for me to cover this, but today we'll finally start Magic Core 19 lore here on the channel.
Maybe it'll give me the option to like, I'm just
Probably super in on this at the now.
Alright.
Ready for the story, bringing us the return of Corsets. But first, a reminder that you can support the best
There
source
you go.
for
Like the
Vorthos
video, boom.
a lot to the lore table, but they weren't initially designed with that in mind. It doesn't appear to progress the current story of MT we most remember involving Bolas. That's M19 in a nutshell. So let's begin that journey with the first chapter, The Twins.
Alright, let's see. Maybe.
Our story doesn't exactly begin with Bolas like you'd think, but rather twin girls climbing the face of an ancient and forbidden mountain on the plain of Tarkir. Tarkir
Oh my god. I'm trying to find a video because I watched it beforehand. And it was just like, oh, okay. This gives the whole story. The rise and fall of the Bolas, the lore. Because these guys separate it into 2. And I want it all as 1. Okay, let's see if they have. If anything, we'll do part 1 of this one, and okay, this one seems to have us the early life, what happens with
Although
the
usually
twins.
associated with the plane of Tarkir,
This is the
where
guy we listened to
Elemental
yesterday.
Storms birthed the very dragons
Welcome to
who've
the
now
stream if
become
you're
the
just now
rulers
joining.
of the plane.
What's up, Wild?
Ugin's story actually begins in the plane of Dominaria, where he was born around the year minus 25,000 AR, nearly 30,000 years before.
Alright, just to catch you up, we're learning about magic lore, we're learning about the dragons, the big baddie, but first we have to find out his origin story, and the origin story begins with him and his twin brother. So, here we go.
the Great Mending, which makes him one of the most ancient and oldest beings alive in the entire multiverse. Ugin was spawned directly by the Ur Dragon, the progenitor of fire and primordial essence of all dragonkind. With its wings that extend across the eternities, it stirs the fabric of the cosmos. Its breath bellows over mortals, stealing the very essence of life. With claws that rake ether, it sunders ancient bonds. Thanks to his blind eyes, the Ur Dragon perceives the deepest truths concealed in the wells of time. Its bellowing roar summons its brood, echoing through the blood of all dragonkind. For the Ur Dragon is the progenitor from which all the dragons of the multiverse spawned. The Ur Dragon is described as a huge, dark, and terrifying shadow, and during its travels through various planes, it creates storms with the beating of its wings. From such storms, other dragons are born, and it calls them its children. From one of these storms, a dragon of great stature, with feather wings and scales of a shining blue named Ugin came to life along his twin, Nicol. Where in every other egg there was only one, Ugin and Nicol woke together. They named themselves together and touched the soil of Dominaria for the first time at the same instant. Both of them were only half the size of their siblings, and since their very youth, the impulses and drives that moved the two brothers were opposite and incompatible. When they witnessed their sister Miravia Sol being attacked and killed by a tribe of the first humanoids and their dogs, Nicol was only interested in rescue and avenge her, while Ugin was far more pressed to rejoin their other siblings and seek more knowledge about this world and who inhabited it. Upon climbing a mountain, Ugin expressed wonder at the vastness of the multiverse, while Nicol sought to become stronger, not to die like their fallen sister. After their other sister, Palladia Morse, mocked their size and hunting techniques, the twins spent years owning and perfecting several methods to hunt in tandem. For a few years then, they lived with their Cade Sabbath, who had taken up residence as Dragonlord commander of a humanoid settlement. It was here that Nicol first came in touch and learned about the nature of humans, and how easily their desires and ambitions could be manipulated. Meanwhile, Ugin made friends with an Oli Helder named Te Yuki, whose sole purpose in life was to seek that which cannot be seen. Te Yuki became Ugin's mentor, and through her lessons, the young dragon learned about the existence of other planes. His twin Nicol, instead, had no patience at all for Te Yuki's lessons. After several years, Bolas had had enough of humans, and he took Ugin on a journey to seek revenge for their sister's murder. On their way to the Birth Mountain, however, the two were ambushed and Ugin was wounded and poisoned by human tribes that, in the meantime, had evolved into lethal dragon hunters. Nicol easily wiped out their enemies and tended to Ugin in his recovery. After that, Ugin witnessed his twin warping the minds of the men who had attacked them, manipulating them into a quarrel between several factions and taking over as their supreme leader.
So, if you missed this, the world was there before these dragons. These dragons fell from the sky, from the Ur dragon, and then they just started wreaking havoc on the inhabitants. So the inhabitants, they are like, no. And then they killed one. It was Ugin's and Nicobolas' sister. So now they're pissed off. The dragons are pissed off because they're like, oh, these inferior things killed our sister. The people are mad because they're like, these things came out of nowhere and they're just messing up our people. So Ugin came closer to people. Nicobolas was like, nah, I'm not messing with people. They still killed our sister. So while they're training, Ugin learned from a person. Nicobolas learned on his own, and now he's like, yeah, okay, bump this. I'm just gonna go and take over where they left off from beforehand. But now he has the ability to control people. So that's where we're at. He's taking over as their leader and using mind control. And Ugin didn't know that he had this ability.
Slowly, Ugin began to realize that avenging Miravia Sol was no longer Nicol's true aim. Bolas was only interested in power, and he had never truly cared for anything or anyone else besides that. The mental shock and sense of betrayal coming from this realization was too much to bear, even for Ugin. The event caused his latent planeswalker's spark to ignite, and the dragon planeswalked away to the meditation realm. While the rest of the Elder Dragons and Dominaria clashed in the Elder Dragon War, Ugin explored the vastness of the multiverse instead, marveling at its splendor. When he, after 5,000 years, at last decided to return to his home plane, he found the world he had left embroiled in war, with the armies of Cade Sabbath and Nicol Bolas incessantly confronting each other on the battlefield. Seeking to convince them to stop this madness, Ugin revealed himself. Nicol, who had believed that his twin had been killed by the dragon hunters, at first distrusted him. When he was finally convinced that this was indeed the real Ugin, however, Bolas proudly displayed his empire before his twin, asking his brother to join forces with him and together become emperors of all there is. Ugin haughtily replied that everything Nikol had achieved was a minor speck in an infinity of worlds and nothing to be really proud of, adding that he, instead, had found a way to travel between worlds. Nikol angrily demanded from Hugin to be shown how to planeswalk, and when Ugin couldn't show that to him, Bolas suspected that his twin had just been hiding somewhere on Dominaria for all this time, plotting against him. The brothers exchanged bitter words before Ugin left Dominaria again, consolidating once and for all the divide that had grown between them. A few years later, the last battle of the Elder Dragon War took place in Yamura, between the last remaining troops of Bolas and Sabbath. After entire weeks of conflict, Nikol was beginning to get the upper hand, and only the unexpected intervention of Ugin himself prevented the ultimate defeat of Sabbath. The Millennial War ended then and there because in rage and envy of Ugin's confirmed Planeswalker status, Bolas' own spark ignited and he planeswalked away to the Meditation Realm. Thousands of years after Nikol's ignition, the two planeswalking brothers confronted each other once again on the Meditation Realm. First above the wide silvery waters of the plane, and then on a wild pummeling path through the plains of the world. They struggled for days, years, generations. Realizing that he couldn't match Bolas' savage hatred for much longer, Ugin returned to the Meditation Realm and let his brother mortally wound him. As the body of Ugin fell into the plane's pools, the ripples created an explosion of power that fractured the very surface of the plane, casting Bolas back into the blind eternities. Bolas was flung through many planes before he fell back onto Dominaria, over the archipelago of Madara. After this confrontation, the Meditation Realm became a wilderness of rock, barren and wrecked, all its serenity and magic drained away. A very long stretch of time later, however, the plane began to repair itself. In eerie silence, the realm slowly reformed with its magic-infused silvery waters. When the waters ceased rising, they grew still, and in that still became a mirror, waiting for the reflection of Ugin. The dragon inhaled, pulling the waters into himself. The waters curled and frothed into every crevice and wrinkle and scale and indentation until his horns sparkled and his claws gleamed and his eyes shone with magic. The dragon was reborn. His spirit inhabiting a new body formed out of the Meditation Realm's water as he now floated above a renewed dry seabed beneath a luminous sky. Instantly, the newly born spirit dragon had found his purpose: to protect the multiverse from interplanar threats the likes of his twin Nikol, whose blind hatred and anger would destroy entire planes if left unchecked. Soon after Ugin left the plane then, the restoration process started anew. Ugin eventually settled down on the plane of Tarkir, where his magic was responsible for birthing the plane's dragons. Valuing both his dragon broods and the subservient humanoid clans inhabiting the plane, Ugin gifted the men with concealment magic, basically morphing, so that they could survive the depredation of dragons. He also revealed the secret behind Ghostfire to the Jeskai Way, and the art of Whisper Mind to the Timur Frontier. Ghostfire, also known as Breath of Ugin, is an invisible, colorless flame that can wreak havoc upon one's enemies. Only a few people within the Jeskai ranks have ever learned to control Ghostfire, as the power coursing from it is enough to instantly kill its wielder if not handled correctly. The rare few who survive the training and manage to master this technique are believed to be able to transcend natural elements and alter their fundamental nature and existence. The spell was recorded on the Dragon Scroll, which was later stolen by the pyromancer Chandra Nalaar from the Sanctum of Stars on the plane of Kefalai. The reasons behind Ugin's actions is that by equally sharing his secrets amongst the various clans, Ugin hoped that none could have enough power to respectively wage war against each other. The multiverse has countless secrets, even for those beings called Planeswalkers who have come to understand its multiplanar structure and functioning. The greatest and darkest of these secrets is perhaps that of the Eldrazi. The Eldrazi are a race of interplanar beings that once traveled from plane to plane through the Ether. Their nature was an incomprehensible, ceaseless hunger. They fed on the mana and life energy of the planes they passed through, leaving lifeless husks in their wake as they moved from one world to the next. After they devoured the plane, they would simply select their next target by some arcane, inscrutable intelligence. Their origin is unknown and their very nature is poorly understood. If they had thoughts or goals behind simply feeding, no one ever knew, as their minds are utterly inscrutable. Even their magic transcends the categories of spells and classifications of mana and recognize no distinction between the mana of one land and that of another. In all, 3 monstrous Eldrazi titans have feasted on the multiverse in aeons past. Their names are Ulamog, Kozilek, and Emrakul. No one can say for sure whether more titans exist somewhere in the vast multiverse, but these 3 alone have enough power among them to threaten countless planes. In their true forms, these titans are huge, alien leviathans made up of an immaterial substance akin to the Ether found in the Blind Eternities. Multitudes of lesser creatures then, drones, spawns, and more powerful servitors seem to emanate from the titans when they are active, much as clouds of vapor emanate from boiling water. Each titan has its own brute lineage, which shares certain features with them. The people of the plane of Zendikar have tried to name the various kinds of lesser Eldrazi, but they appear in such multifarious variety that they are very difficult to categorize. Some speculate that the lineages of lesser Eldrazi are extensions of their titan sires, extending the titan's will and reach across the plane, harvesting mana and life energy that is then channeled back to the titan itself. Much like an hive mind, these great multitudes of lesser Eldrazi would be extending organs of each titan, serving sensory and digestive functions for these monstrous alien beings. 3 planeswalkers, at last, took action to try to oppose the Eldrazi. Ugin, the spirit dragon, who fought them with his breath of invisible fire and using his knowledge of colorless magic to match the Eldrazi colorless nature. The vampire planeswalker Sorin Markov, who brought his familiarity with life-leeching magic to the battlefield, and Nahiri, a stone-shaping lithomancer who had planned to force the titans into physical form to utterly destroy them. To be fair, although he was fully committed to the cause, Ugin always hoped for a softer epilogue than the destruction of the alien race. The spirit dragon had dedicated entire centuries of his ages-long life to understanding the Eldrazi race. Even before working with Sorin and Nahiri to neutralize them, he had tracked down and documented the Great Titans, desperately trying to comprehend their purpose and nature. In the end, Ugin didn't entirely understand the Eldrazi's role, but he had enough perspective to intuit their greater function within the multiverse. He knew that the Eldrazi were ancient, perhaps as old as the multiverse itself, and that their sole function seemed to be consuming entire planes. He reasoned that either their race was part of a higher and unknown order of things, or the multiverse creates new planes at roughly the same rate as the Eldrazi consumed them, or else there wouldn't be any plane left around. For these reasons, it's always believed that forever imprisoning or killing the Titans before their natural life cycle is complete might have unforeseen and terrible consequences for the entire multiverse. Merely neutralizing them, keeping them away from their task for a few thousand years of imprisonment and study, however, might not have created that much disruption in the multiverse's balance, and therefore it was, from Ugin's perspective, the ideal and preferred course of action. But their plan failed.
Instead of killing them,
The
he's
Eldrazi
like,
were
nah,
too
we're gonna try to
immense,
seal them.
too alien, and too powerful to defeat. Presented with the monstrous powers and unspeakable horrors of the Titans and their offsprings, Ugin and his companions were forced to consider a different, desperate course of action. They figured that although they couldn't kill the Eldrazi, they could imprison the astral abominations on a single plane, cutting them off from the blind eternities, thus preserving the rest of the multiverse from their unstoppable fury. The world they choose would be in danger of utter destruction by the ravening Eldrazi, but the Planeswalkers decided that the risk would be worth the salvation of all other planes. So, they found a plane with lush ecosystems and uniquely dynamic mana, an irresistible lure for the Eldrazi's insatiable hunger. Over Nahiri's objections, they settled on her home plane,
Damn.
Zendikar.
They messed up. They literally destroyed this
The
girl's
trio
plane. They
then
like,
set to work to
what we're
trap
gonna do
the
is,
three Eldrazi monstrosities
your
Emrakul,
plane,
Ulamog,
like,
and Kozilek.
they literally just said that this girl's plane or her homeland, that's in another dimension with all her friends and family, is like the best environment. It's the one that we should choose. And they literally just took these like titans. Like these things are huge. Like if they were here, like their torso would be cut off in the sky, and like they will like kind of linger over ultimately of the whole planet. So they literally just said, "Yo, we're gonna send them to your home because it has the most mana, and these things would probably go there." And they knew that these things would destroy it going there. And she's like, "Nah, y'all, I don't want y'all to send it here." And they're like, "It's the best choice we have to send them, like to get them away from here." So she had to choose. Actually, she had no choice because they did it without even like listening to her. So her whole family, her whole squad, the place that she was born and raised is about to get wiped out for the sake of all these other dimensions that she doesn't even know about. That's why I was like, Nicol Bolas is like, I said he was like Thanos, but he's worse. These things are like Thanos, but 10 times worse than Thanos because they don't care. They're not trying to like teach people a lesson. They just want to wreak havoc. All right, back to the story.
On the plane. Sorin directed the Eldrazi's appetite towards the plane, luring them with its fierce energy. The invisible breath of the spirit dragon Ugin blunted the Eldrazi's counterattacks, and he used special colorless magic to bind them to the world. Nahiri instead constructed a massive network of stone diamonds called Hedrons, whose powers would form the bars of a worldwide prison, forever preventing the Eldrazi from leaving. The trap worked. The three titans manifested in their physical form on Zendikar. They became confined by the magic of the Hedron's network, and thanks to the magic of the imprisonment spell, they sank into harmless dormancy. The Planeswalkers concentrated the power of their spell and the nexus point of the Hedron networks in an underground chamber called the Eye of Ugin. The Eye was located beneath the mountains of Akum, and the cavernous vault held a great glowing Hedron linked to all others. Activating the Hedrons required the efforts of all three Planeswalkers, including the invisible Ghostfire Breath of Ugin. Until all of these elements, the three Planeswalkers and the Ghostfire, were present once more in the chamber, the prison could not be unsealed.
Okay. Excuse me. So
Their
they
mission
pretty much
completed,
sealed them.
the Planeswalkers disbanded. Sorin and Ugin left Zendikar, while Nahiri remained on her homeplane to keep watch over the prison.
Well,
Ugin's preparation had been thorough. He had worked out a way to trap the Eldrazi using a carefully shaped network of ley lines and magical nodes, channeling and focusing the flow of mana through the land. What he needed was someone to build it. Nahiri was very good at building things. It took 40 years of near-constant work. One by one, she had pulled carefully crafted stone shapes out of the earth. Hedrons, Ugin had called them, and the name had stuck. She filled the skies of Zendikar with stone, and Ugin hatched to them with draconic runes that held them in the air and would bind the Eldrazi to this place. The Hedrons were a lure as well as trap, sending out pulses of magical energy that drew the Eldrazi like the scent of blood draws sharks. Slowly, ponderously, and Sorin reported, ignoring other words along their way, the Eldrazi approached Zendikar. When the Eldrazi came, Zendikar was as ready as any other world had ever been. One Eldrazi titan in the distance had been monstrous, an abomination. 3 together, seen up close, were an impossibility. The titans were hideously, mindlessly making their inexorable way to the nexus of the Hedron network, the source of the call that had pulled them there, the Eye of the Storm. Nahiri, in the meantime, was waiting for them in the underground chamber that she and Sorin had named the Eye of Ugin. There was a rush of mana, and then Sorin and Ugin were standing by her side. The earth shook, the crystalline walls of the eye singing in sympathetic vibration. "They are in position," Ugin said, and the 3 planeswalkers focused their tremendous power on a single point, a nexus stone linked to every other Hedron by invisible lines of force and mana. Every single Hedron on the plane glowed as they shifted into new positions. The network was taking its final shape. Then, it was done. The 3 planeswalkers sealed the chamber with a mystical lock, one that could only be opened by 3 planeswalkers wielding the power of the Ghostfire, and made their way towards the half-ruined surface. Looming above the highlands of Akum, the 3 Eldrazi titans stood petrified, surrounded by a web of floating Hedrons. Zendikar had survived, ravaged but whole, and its people would learn to live in the shadows of the Hedrons. Thousands of years after the Eldrazi were sealed on Zendikar, Ugin plotted with the Sphinx planeswalker Azur first to devise a plan to forever trap Bolas on the plane of Ixalan. Much like the Hedron's cage on the plane of Zendikar, if you really think about it, I guess Ugin has a thing for trapping enemies, but anyway, let's move on. Azur first came to the point of sacrificing his own planeswalker Spark to create the Immortal Sun, a mighty artifact that would prevent Bolas from leaving the plane of Ixalan while Ugin erased him from existence.
So if you remember yesterday when we were listening to Jace's backstory, after he fought Nicol Bolas, he planeswalked to this place, and this place is supposed to trap planeswalkers in it and not let them escape. Uh, but and also Vraska, the snake organ lady, was sent there to look for this said artifact. But you know what ended up happening there? We're gonna find out in a second. And there goes the plan.
Before the trap could be sprung, though, Bolas struck his twin to Tarkir and attacked him first. The 2 dragons waged a titanic battle in the skies over Tarkir for hours, but in the end, Nicol Bolas was simply too powerful. Ugin fell from the sky and crashed into the earth. Then Bolas dug deep into his mind for information about the Eldrazi and their prison. His purpose accomplished, Nicol departed, leaving his severely wounded twin to certain death.
Mind you, this is the second time Nicol Bolas tried to kill this guy. Like the first time he tried to kill him, he was like, okay, I don't know if we're dead or not, but I got flung somewhere else. This time, he definitely tried to kill him, but also now the guy that's 10 times worse than any other villain that I've ever heard of in any series is now currently, yeah, he can't catch a break at all. And now Nicol Bolas knows about these Eldrazi giant monument titan things that they spent all this time sealing. And the last thing you want is the bad baddie who wants power to know about these giant things that are super powerful in his whole reign of trying to get more power. So, here we go.
At the moment of his physical death, however, the dragon's spirit did not depart from Ugin's unconscious mind, and
so yeah, Ugin just died.
Only after more than 1,000 years, it found instead its way into the mind of the Tarkirian planeswalker, Sarkhan Vol. Sarkhan's waking and sleeping hours were tormented by Ugin's whispers in his head, nearly 1,300 years after the dragon's actual physical death.
So this dude's spirit lingered long enough thousands of years lingered around, attached itself to a dude who was just wandering aimlessly, and he possessed him. Possessed.
Unwelcome thoughts crowd my mind. Are they my own madness or the whispers of another? Only later, the dragon worshipper Planeswalker discovered that these whispers were Ugin's unconscious plea of help extending over the boundaries of space and time. I should probably mention that if you feel puzzled at this point, that's completely normal, as we're actually dealing with a time traveling back to the future kind of paradox. Bear with me, and I promise that all will make sense very soon.
Yeah, they do a lot of time jumps. Just to know, just know that they do a lot of time jumps. They're gonna do a lot now, and
After having been tormented,
they kind of rewrite a little bit of magic lore in here, because of the whole time jumping thing. If you remember, anything with Infinity War, the whole time jumping thing, yeah, they did that to rewrite the old history of magic. So like a lot of the stuff has been like removed. You know how angry you have to be to stick around for 1,000 years. Yeah, Ugin was mad. He was big mad. He was like, yo, or at least you have to understand like his mission. His whole mission was Ugin loved people. His brother only cared about power and conquering things. So with his brother dying, or with his brother killing him, and knowing about the Eldrazzis, this dude is like, oh my god, I gotta find someone to attach to that I could talk to, but also help me stop him. So 3,000 years, he's been like dead, and his brother has been doing whatever other places. So you're about to see what this guy's been up to. Yeah, it's vengeance. It's vengeance. Are y'all enjoying this magic lore? Like the story is, I like the story. Like they're doing a lot of stuff in here. Oh yeah, oh yeah, the ultimate betrayal. Like, hold on, but it gets worse.
by the whisperings of Ugin's spirit in his head across the multiverse, Sarkhan Vol was drawn back to his home plane of Tarkir. There, he was able to travel back in time 1,208 years to the past using Ugin's Nexus, which was a spiritual nexus surrounding what remained of Ugin's bones.
So this dude traveled back home because he wasn't there, and there's a picture right here in the bottom left of my screen, or like right under my profile, or underneath my picture, or my underneath me. There's a picture, and this dude is literally toting a staff in the midst of Ugin's bones that are in spiritual form that still remain there.
The mystical power of the Nexus transported Sarkhan back in time to the moment just prior to the battle of the two draconic twins. Then, Sarkhan witnessed the fall of Ugin at the hands of Bolas. He watched as Nicol left Tarkir, certain that Ugin was about to breathe his last. But then, the half-dragon planeswalker entombed the still-living Ugin in a cocoon made of hadrons to preserve his last bits of life while he ever so slowly regained his strength, thereby altering the fate of the entire plane.
Yeah, so pretty much Nicol Bolas destroyed everything, all right? Nicol Bolas went through, destroyed everything, and for 3,000 years, like everything was just done, all right? 3,000 years, Nicol Bolas did everything, messed up everybody, and what this guy did is he's like, okay, I'm gonna put you in those hedrons, the same thing that they sealed the Eldrazzis in, but these were meant to like help him heal, and this is one of those moments where they rewrite the history of Magic the Gathering and completely like get rid of all the stuff that happened.
Soon after, Sarkhan was transported back to the future, and the timeline of Tarkir was changed forever. Even though Ugin was barely clinging to his life in his hadron cocoon, he still caused the dragon storms to form, and because his essence was contained within the hadrons, Ugin became the world soul of Tarkir. Unable to diminish the dragon's number, the humanoid peoples of Tarkir ultimately lost their war against the draconic breed. When Sarkhan returned to the moment he had left, he entered a new world, completely different from the alternate version he had previously known, as now, mighty dragon lords reigned supreme over the 5 clans.
So imagine you leaving your world and everything's good. The people you love, like they're kind of okay. Like Nicol Bolas hasn't really destroyed your world yet, but like everything's good. They were like fighting dragons, and they were like, "Oh dang, this is crazy. We had to fight dragons." But because you saved Ugin, his spirit formed the storm. And if you remember what happened when the last Ur dragon flew around, there be dragons. Okay, so he came back to a space where the world is overthrown with dragons because Ugin has been pretty much unconsciously making dragons because of his soul has been existing there. So, oof. Some of the things, the cards generally have like flavor text on them. So, one of them says, "Dragons in the Sky of Takar. For the first time, it feels like home." Uh, is what that dude said. So, yeah, there were no dragons, and he's saying this, but I don't think it's gonna be good for there to be dragons, especially since they had to fight so hard. But it may lead to an opportunity to help fight off Nicol Bolas, because he was a tiny dragon, but who knows? 3,000 years.
Sarkhan was restored to soundness of mind, and he rejoiced in a world now filled with the dragons that he loved above all other creatures.
Okay, he's happy about dragons.
Our world of Tarkir was once a tomb. A graveyard for dragons, hunted and killed by the ancient Khans. But I was given a chance to change Tarkir's fate. I traveled back before the dragons died, and tipped the scales of history. When I returned to my time, I found you, Ugin, alive. The dragon tempest never ceased. Dragonkind never died out. The Khans fell. And in their place rose 5 elder dragons. The Dragon Lords claimed their rightful place in command of the world. 5 new dragon clans grew around them, forging a new history from the old. This is our world now, Ugin. This is our Tarkir. Where once the clans fought the dragons, now the dragons and the clans are one.
I don't know if this is a good thing or not. Like, so there are 5 elder dragons here, and those guys are like the leaders of different regions. But with the dragons being back, doesn't that mean there's gonna be wars even more so?
I too have changed. I've thrown aside my own past. I'm a curiosity now, an orphan of time. But now, Tarkir is the world I've always longed for.
Oh wait, this dude just turned into a dragon. He 4K turned into a dragon.
With dragons.
And this is the word that Sorin Marka would visit soon after, looking for Ugin. This is the contemporary version of the world that has forever supplanted an alternate, dragonless one, where the 5 clans of Tarkir would rule supreme over the land and the draconic breed would have gone extinct. That timeline is now forever lost within the depths of the multiverse's intricacies. An empty and forgotten husk of a timeline that never was and never again will be. Nearly 1,300 years after Sarkhan Vol had saved Ugin, the spirit dragon still rested in his cocoon of Edrins. One day, Sorin Markov arrived on Tarkir and, hated by the enthralled warrior on the plain, the vampire made his way to Ugin's resting place. There, Sorin channeled his energy and awakened the spirit dragon, freeing him of his perpetual slumber. Ugin recounted his battle with Nicol to Sorin, who then informed him about the fact that the Eldrazi had surprisingly been reawakened. A shocked Ugin immediately inquired about Nahiri's whereabouts, stating that they would need her help to fight the Eldrazi once again by rebuilding the Hedron network that had kept them prisoners before. Realizing that something had happened between Sori and Nahiri during his slumber, Ugin warned him to put aside whatever spat had occurred between them, urging the vampire to find her. He then thanked Sorin for his assistance, saying that they'd meet again on Zendikar, and Nahiri had better be with him. Sometime later, Ugin met Sarkhan, who had arrived on the plane looking for answers. The spirit dragon, in the meantime, had been studying Tarkir's new history through the various carvings around the canyon which he had awoken. The dragon eventually questioned Sarkhan on his previous actions and on how an Hedron from the Eye of Ugin on Zendikar had arrived on Tarkir. Sarkhan informed Ugin of what had happened in the past few years, and as Ugin had no memory of an alternate timeline and a role that his spiritual echo had played in it, he theorized that Sarkhan now had created a time paradox of sorts. In this new timeline, Sarkhan Bol had never been born, nor had he served with the Marduk clan. The half-dragon planeswalker had somehow appeared from nowhere, traveling through time and space, and had saved Ugin's life before reappearing again 1,000 years later. Understanding this, Sarkhan made his peace with Ugin and left, while the spirit dragon moved towards the plane of Zendikar. After having been freed from his thousands-years-long stasis on Tarkir, Ugin returned to the plane of Zendikar. To his disappointment, he did not find neither Sorin nor Nahiri waiting for him there. So he started to rebuild the Eye of Ugin and the Hedron network alone. When the human planeswalker Jace Beleren arrived on the plane on behalf of Gideon Jura to investigate the nature of the anomalous floating stones of Zendikar as well as their connection to the ley lines of the plane, the spirit dragon revealed to the mage the real function of the Hedrons and how the network might be used again to trap the Eldrazi Titans on the plane. Jace listened to Ugin's directions, but although the spirit dragon warned the blue planeswalker not to destroy the Eldrazi Titans for the sake of the multiverse as a whole, Jace immediately began to think about how the information he had received could serve as the first step in killing the monstrous Titans. Deliberately ignoring Ugin's warnings, Jace left the Eye and made his way back to Seagate to pass on this precious information on to Gideon, who used them to kill 2 out of the 3 Titans with the help of his companions. After the newly formed Gatewatch destroyed Ulamog and Kozilek, Ugin harshly berated them for killing the ancient creatures instead of trapping them once more, fearing dire consequences for the entire multiverse.
You see, it all's coming together.
Seeking to end the threat posed by his brother once and for all, Ugin conspired with Sarkhan to take down Bolas. Sarkhan aided the spirit dragon in bypassing the control words that Bolas had placed to protect the meditation realm from intruders, which enabled Ugin to quickly regain control over the plane. This also unexpectedly allowed Ugin to see through the metaphysical spirit gem that Bolas used to wear between his horns, effectively giving Ugin a way to effortlessly spy on his brother without any chance of being noticed. This was made possible by the fact that the mysterious artifact worn by Bolas was metaphysically tied to both Ugin himself and the meditation realm, as Bolas had taken it from Ugin's essence after killing him there. Upon learning that Bolas's plans revolved around trapping as many planeswalkers as possible on the plane of Ravnica to complete the Elder Spell during the War of the Sparks, Ugin allied with the Ravnican dragon Niv-Mizzet, founder of the Izzet League on Ravnica. If you wish to know more about the Elder Spell and the War of the Sparks and how it played out, I suggest you to check both my Liliana and Rashka Complete History videos, where you'll find entire sections dedicated to this. Going back to Ugin and Niv, the two dragons came up with a contingency plan to resurrect Mizzet in the unfortunate event of his death during the conflict. Niv stored his consciousness inside of a magical device that could house a sort of backup of his mind and soul for up to a century. When during the conflict Bolas ruthlessly killed Niv, as it was expected, Ugin sent Sarkhan to retrieve the device and bring it to the meditation realm, where he could keep it safe until Ravnica's guild leaders performed the ritual to bring Niv back to life. After that, Ugin sent Sarkhan to the plane of Amonkhet to retrieve the mighty spear of the god of Seal, Azaret. This spear was a truly unique weapon, as it had been created by Bolas himself, and as such, it was infused with the dragon's energy. This made Azoret's spear one of the few weapons in the multiverse capable of actually harming Bolas. As it was planned by the spirit dragon, the spear wound up in the hands of the newly resurrected Niv-Mizzet, who, during the last act of the War of the Sparks, used it to stab Bolas in the back, impaling him. This then bought enough time for the god Eternal Bontu to deliver the final blow against Bolas, biting his forearm and harvesting all of the sparks that the Elder Dragon had consumed up to that point, as well as his own innate spark. After Bolas's defeat, Ugin took his brother's body to the Meditation Realm to prevent him from coming back to life on Ravnica. To prevent anyone from following him, Ugin had Jace conjure up an illusion to conceal his presence from everyone, making them believe that Bolas's corpse had disintegrated instead. To protect his deranged brother, Ugin wrapped Bolas in his wings while traveling through the Blind Eternities and towards the Meditation Realm. Despite this protection, and even though Bolas was an Elder Dragon and a former Planeswalker, the journey to the Meditation Realm ended up causing even more damage to Bolas's body, stripping away the scales off his side. Nevertheless, Bolas survived, although it took him weeks to regain consciousness and months to start recovering. Upon awakening, Bolas found himself utterly and completely powerless, unable to planeswalk or even to use the simplest of spells. Furthermore, Ugin had stripped away his names from him, preventing anyone from being able to summon him. To add insult to injury, Ugin proceeded to explain in details how he had managed to outmaneuver his brother, revealing how he had worked with Sarkhan and Niv-Mizzet to orchestrate Bolas's defeat. The spirit dragon then expanded himself throughout the plane, revealing that he'd merged his essence with the soul of the Meditation Realm. He had also sealed the plane off the rest of the multiverse, preventing anyone, including himself, from being able to enter or leave it ever again.
Alright. Sorry to end our story so abruptly. I guess we can. We have 2 more minutes. We'll wrap up the last 2 minutes of this, and then the next time we'll finish up some more of the lore. We can find out what Nicol Bolas was doing on the next stream. That'll be tomorrow.
Then Ugin told Bolas how he'd keep watch over him, ensuring that he couldn't bring any more harm to the multiverse until Bolas's natural death in thousands of years. After the War of the Sparks, but before Bolas awoke in the Meditation Realm, Ugin telepathically entered in contact with the necromancer Liliana Vess and Caligo on the plane of Dominaria. Ugin explained to Liliana that the Spirit Gem, which she had taken with her after Bolas's downfall, had the power to reveal to its possessor their true and best self. Later, as Liliana was holding the Spirit Gem in one hand and the eerie chain veil in the other, Ugin's artifact began to glow, filling her up with a stream of benevolent warmth. As the spirit gem began disappearing from Liliana's hand, then, she dropped the chain veil which had tormented her for centuries, finally giving it up and commencing her path of redemption. The disappeared gem's location is currently unknown, although it has presumably returned to its rightful owner in the Meditation Realm.
Alright. So, we got a lot of backstory of like the complete history of Ugin. That's one side. We're gonna find out what Nicol Bolas was up to the first 3,000 years and then the second 3,000 years, and I think you guys might be very interested to see what he was doing. But I'm gonna end here. I appreciate everybody joining me for another session of Magic X Spray Can lore. So I'm gonna continue working on Jace tomorrow. You can see how Jace impact in the lore is constantly popping up and doing something. But until next time, we will find out exactly how deep the roots of what Jace gets into are. But once again, I appreciate everybody joining me for another drawing session and play my music on the way out. So until next time, I hope everybody has a good night, and I hope y'all enjoyed this stream. Until next time, Hero out.